Kidding me? Oh, here it is. Hero, what is up? My cousin in here, what's going on? Especially when drawing such a solo thing. Yeah, drawing is a solo thing, and I feel like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, um, and it can really be a team effort thing. All right, let's move the mic away so I can really get busy. Let me catch up here on Twitch. Misu, thank you for hopping in. Always very appreciative. Sensei Mearzy is being critiqued. Hopefully it didn't take me too long to get to it. Where did I study animation? I'm self-taught. I did go to Northeastern, but I went for design. Very different than illustration. But I love design. I love illustration as well. So I do design today. With an actual team. Like I'll lead a team and stuff like that. Nostalgia, I find torso and leg anatomy to be the biggest weakness. Oh, that means you running every day. That's a Leroy Jenkins reference in 2021. Yes, Leroy Jenkins. You know what I'm saying? I'm dating myself, you know what I mean? All right. So first and foremost, every time I open up these critiques, I like to talk about the stuff that I like and that I feel like is working, that's interesting. So the things that I like, man, color palette off the bat, I like the blue, the gold, and I like the rendering of your cloth and stuff like that, right? The rendering I feel like is, in my opinion, I think is really great. When you look at these folds here, and let me get this in here. These folds look really good. You know what I mean? Look at this. Look at the flowiness of it. I think, what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about how we can really make these things work for us direction-wise. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to talk a little bit about like depth and moving things forward and moving things backwards. You know what I mean? But I like that. I also like, on top of the rendering, the textures you're using and stuff like that. You got some foregrounds, with the hand and even with the rocks and everything else like that. And then you got some depth here. Things that I feel like are kind of breaking a little bit is, your anatomy in perspective is breaking a little bit. People who've watched my stream before, I always bring this up. I always talk about this. Continuity is like fucking key. And what I mean by continuity is like things, and I'm gonna make it easy. There's a bigger, I think, aspect to it, but everything that needs to go back to the same point on the horizon line, go back to the same point on the horizon line, right? And we're gonna talk about just like really respecting that. I have a reel or a TikTok that I'm gonna make that really speaks to why I think if you're starting off as an artist, you should use a perspective grid every time in the beginning. And it's just going to train you to always think about continuity, and that ends up being a really big difference between really strong artists or really artists that are further along their journey than artists that are really in the beginning of it. Let's see what Wavy's saying. Yo, you got an art style that is really amazing, bro. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Do you find landscapes really hard to do, or does it sound like it's very hard to do? It's kind of why I practice it a lot. Because it makes me feel very uncomfortable, and I tend to try to draw things that make me feel uncomfortable, simply because I know that like if it starts to feel more comfortable, then I'm getting better at it. But yeah, it's actually really hard for me. That's why whenever you see me do like my drawings, there's always a grid in it, because it just doesn't come, you know what I mean? So with more effects of it, with messing with it more, I'm getting better at spotting it without even seeing the grid. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, most people draw their horizon line really high. So I think your horizon line is pretty high, Mearzy. And I'm gonna keep it that way because I'm gonna show you what it can look like really high, and then I'm gonna play around with what it will look like in a different perspective, which has different emotional context. Again, so let's just drop this a little bit lower. And I'm going to do this perspective grid again from what I think it is. or what I think it could. I am using a brand new Cintiq, so I'm going to be moving a little bit slower than I'm used to. So just bear with me, y'all. All right. Okay. Hey, thank you for the follow, D. Appreciate it. All right. So let's say this is it, and your character is going to be below this. All right. And then for this to be more cinematic, I'm just going to throw another perspective line in here. I'm going to fan these lines out. Like I said, I'm using a new Cintiq, so this is not going to be as nice as I want it to be. So the first thing we're going to do is, in your drawing, you have a lot of depth, right? There's a leg that's going forward, there's a leg that's going back, and we really want to show that because right now it's kind of flattened out, and I feel like you're rendering here, you're using the rendering to kind of compensate for it. But you know, what we want to do is we want to be able to proficiently draw it before we really jump into the rendering. You know what I'm saying? Perspective grids, his go like his practice. Perspective grid is his go-to like practice at nights. Immediate witchcraft. Hey, all right. So let's boom. Now we got this grid, which is it's not necessarily my favorite thing here. But we're gonna just draw this character's pose in it. So it looks like he's pulling his a blade out. And what we're gonna try to do is we're just gonna, throughout this entire time, really just gonna try to respect this grid and the depth here. So this character's head right here. The reason why I like doing this grid too is you immediately get depth right away. Now, like I said, this is not like done to the best of my ability, because what you would see in the back here is you see a lot more lines, you know, and that's going to really help you with the depth portion of it. And the reason why that's important is as you start drawing things further back and closer, it's gonna force you to start thinking that way. Now let's see, the blade is already half pulled out. Let's say it's like this because we're going from the top, and we can blow this drawing up, which I think will help afterwards. You have this here, body's here. Now I really should be looking up a pose for this, but I'm assuming it's like this. And if I'm having a hard time, I'm wrapping this. But as you can see with my my wraps, it's already making sure that I'm keeping the depth that I need to keep. And hand is probably out here. And that's the blade right here. Being pulled back out. Now your other foot's probably going to be here. Let me rework. Alright, yeah, this new touch ring is something that's really different. I gotta figure out a new workflow. Probably like this. And the other foot's probably further back here. Now just moving quickly, I'm making sure that things are kind of going back. That things are, you know, my depth and stuff like that is still the same. And even if your hand is back here, you know what I'm saying? You can see that at least that elbow from back here, but it's smaller, it's further back in space. And you're going to start drawing things more in space because of the horizon line. It's just making you consider that the entire time. You know what I mean? this foot overlap was probably going to be under the rest of the body, you know, like from this top view that you kind of have. And the reason why I'm assuming it's a top view is because I'm seeing the top of the arm, I'm seeing the top of the back, I'm seeing the top of the head. You know, your horizon line may have even been even higher, if you will. But like something like this, you know, the continuity kind of feels there because we're respecting the horizon line. Now, if you're doing things like and now let's like add your clothes to it, if you will. We can start pulling things back here in this space and making it a little smaller. The collar up here. And that's giving us like some narrative, right? As it's pulling further away, it's almost like we're coming from this direction. And with the lines pulling forward, you're like, I'm also stretching my hand. I'm also stretching my arm out, or my character is. Now, this isn't as forced perspective as what you're trying to go with, but your character feels like it lives in more of a space. Now, obviously, this is a lot further out, but I could take all these here and let's zoom out, and then let's blow this up. Now, this blown up, even still, if we do like, center it a bit. It's just saving it. And now, if you do stuff like add in the stones on the ground, let's say there's a stone here in the foreground because it's in the air. A really good thing to do if you're going to do some foreground stuff is to do like some bit of an overlap at some point. And then you could do little stones here, further back away, further back here, and then some stones on the ground. You want to see what I'm drawing? IG, hop over to Twitch. Yeah, I got the stones on the ground here. Now what I'm going to do is then take my little blur brush. I think if I press this button, I can change my brush size. Here we go. And then we're just going to change the brush size, intensity. Like I said, bear with me, guys. This is a new device for me. And then just add in some whites here so they feel like actual objects. Go. Back that. I want to have this covered here. And then, and I'm really not a fan of the legs here, but it's really about just proving the point of, you know, sticking with the continuity here, making sure we kind of stick with a particular direction. Let's this up again. All right, it's the baggy pants here. Okay. The overlap again. You know, you can do, if the wind is blowing back, you know, doing a direction in the clothing would really help accentuate that. And then now you have the hair too. And that perspective shit's doing a lot for us, giving us a place to like draw things back to, you know. And then you can even have one little loose hair because the wind like whipped it back and forward or whatever. All right, delete that move that I just did, but you know what I mean, like have that hair whip back and forth, right? And so look at, I feel like this feels like a very camera cinematic-y, you know, situation here. Now here we're just talking about Here we're just talking about just kind of like making it feel more weighted, making it feel like, you know, it fits in a 3D space, also making it feel more cinematic, you know, to that degree. Let's see what's happening. Rotate, let's go, Sensei. Oh, thank you, appreciate in that. How often do I live stream? I want to live stream on Sundays and Mondays, but things catch up to me. Mearzy, I need to do more grids because I want to be a perspective specialist. This is what it's gonna require doing. Mearzy, did you flip it? Did you flip it? Yeah, flipping it. I need to flip my art more often. I don't do it enough. I had to open both eyes for this one. Well, Mearzy, does this make sense? Do you feel like this helps, or you're like, this wasn't what I was going for, or whatever? Let me know, man, because then, you know, I can switch it up. Now, hop in the chat and let me know. This is just one direction, and I think this is kind of what you were somewhat trying to go for with the top angle. But now it seems like you want from, oh, let me get this out of here. So this is a top angle using the perspective in the ground, stuff like that. What you're doing here before. Now it seems like you want to have something that's coming more towards you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lower the perspective and we're going to get into the shot. Because it's not to say that it's hard to get into the shot from a top view, but it's just easier to get into that shot from, you know, a lower view. And I'll show you. So and let's go green grid. And I don't like doing it. Okay, I'm just above it here. This is still fairly high, but we're gonna go above. I'm getting a little bit better at using it, but I've only really been using it for like 2 days. It's so much bigger too, so I'm like trying to get used to the space. A good thing. It's a good thing that I got all the screens on. And again, I want it to be, and I'm gonna put my perspective point out here. Just a little bit more. Just there. That last one wasn't the best. Whatever. Really, I mean, Clip Studio actually has a ruler tool. I like drawing it by hand just so I can like really get a feel for it before I'm using any tools and shit. Because then it just becomes a crutch. You want to know that you can do this stuff without it being too big of a crutch. All right, so let's drop this down. And so if I can remember here, okay, pulling the blade here. This is you here now. This is the character, and this is this hand. Pulling it out, pulling the blade out. But now what the perspective does, it does a lot of work. It's doing more work for us than anything, because now all we need to do is just follow these lines back to the horizon line. Now what I learned is that you don't need to go back to a vertice on a horizon line for things to feel like they are in continuity. I'm going to do a really quick example of what I mean by that, and then I'm going to erase it. But I'm going to do this box here, and I'm going to just bring it back to this horizon point. And I'm going to set this, I'm going to bring this over. Now, this may not be the This may not be the sexiest cube, but technically this cube is in perspective, right? Because it all the points that are parallel to the ground are going to a vertice. So as long as they all, everything parallel to the ground goes to that same vertice, it will be in perspective. It will stay in perspective. So I'm saying that because right now I'm gonna draw this unsheathing gonna happen, and it's gonna be a little bit easier for me because I'm gonna be pulling back to the point on the horizon line, my perspective point on the horizon line. I'm gonna, the body here is probably gonna be more like this than, and then not doing a very good job for the pelvis. I just want to get it out here. And you know what I think you were doing? I think you were having your character look like they were running. So let's try to do that. Let's turn the hips away from the horizon line and draw one leg back, and we're gonna lift the leg up, and because we're lifting it up and a little bit less of it, we're gonna have some overlap. Lean the body forward a little bit, means we're gonna see more of that top. Arm out. Now this arm is coming toward us. Overlap, bro. The overlap. And I can force this perspective a little bit more. Like I could circle, overlap here, and then overlap again. We're gonna marker. Yeah. Right. And then draw the hand out here. I would say technically this isn't the best sheathing anatomy, like someone unsheathing a weapon. But I'm just trying to prove more of the point of the continuity and kind of sticking with making sure my elbow would be up, my hand would be down, back, say like this, and this hand here, holding this, the blade. So let's say this is the top of the hilt weapon. Now mind you, I'm coming at this very quickly. I really could I really would change up maybe a few more things so it would feel, you know, the gesture may feel a little bit more natural in this particular perspective. You can see the leg is still coming forward. You see how the blade is now getting smaller, but everything seems to be going to the same point on the horizon line. So it feels like it works, even if it's not going to this particular vertice. And if I wanted, I could pull this leg out here and still drop it like the person's in the stance, and even put that his other foot out here. And then let's go red for cape. I'm gonna just cape with a cowl kind of thing. And again, you had really great folds and really great renders on your folds, so you know that you don't really have anything with issues with that. You know, in my opinion, I feel like the more you know work with the continuity thing, it will look sick. So now we got all this negative space here that we can use to like draw people's eye to us, you know what I mean? Put attention to the move itself. And using those folds again to tell a wider story of drawing the person through the piece. I think once we get to the point where we become more technically proficient, you know, you could do more things with the other parts of the art. So, you know, as I did with the hair in the previous one. Do that. Yeah, make it part of the body. And boom. Again. And now, like right now, what I've drawn seems pretty far away, and what you have is a little bit closer. But then, you know, you just say, fuck it. Once you've drawn your image, I move back. Yes. Just make that bad boy bigger. I would say also, you know, try to make your character either fit in the thirds where it's like 2/3 up or 2/3 to the left or the right. It just makes for a more interesting composition. You know what I'm saying? Boom. Bring this bad boy in. So now I feel like this is a little bit closer because now that I've blown it up, and we got some space here on this side. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna go back into the red, and we're going to now you have an opportunity to lift that cape, the jacket up that you wanted. And I think you wanted to show the underside of it. So let's say this is the jacket portion of it. And now show the underside of it more appropriately. With good contrast, because you got the blue and the gold and stuff like that there too, you know what I mean? So that's gonna really work for you in terms of like contrast and, you know, really drawing the eye over there. It's gonna be really dope. I mean, then you got blade. Why is it blue? What am I doing? All right, here we go. Let's pick a sheet. Right. The yellow part is the blade. So, see what I mean? And like, now we're gonna flip between the two of these. The camera did a whole 120. That's funny. All right, so this. All right, so this is one camera angle where we're still coming from the top, but we're not putting our horizon line over the person's head, which is not a problem. It's something that I like doing, but for very specific reasons. But now you have something where we're in the space, and like the camera's in the space. You know what I mean? You're in the space as the viewer. That's where we want to be. Now all the lines going back to a horizon line is giving us depth. It gives us depth in every single drawing. You know what I mean? And that's kind of another thing that we want to have. Drawing is an illusion. We want to break that illusion. You know what I'm saying? I have not forgotten. You know, we want to break that illusion. So, you know, the grid kind of helps us with that. All these diagonal lines going back to a space really help. Now I'm doing what's considered like forced perspective kind of things going on. You know what I mean? Like with the 2 points perspective being as close as they are, or one being on screen. You know, and a lot of like shots that you may have on a movie or some shit like that, they tend to be further out. They're not as exaggerated. But to get these really cool effects, you know, this exaggerated perspective, this is something that you would generally do. So like now we drop the horizon line. Now we're in the space. I've added 2 perspective lines, which is giving us the camera shit. And now we have this that's a little bit above. You know what I mean? So we have the above shot now that that is also, it's giving us a different feel, right? And like the only way I could do it is thinking about it narratively. So in this shot right now, right, your character's fighting, and the big bad, oh shit, I got an ad that's about to start too soon. Damn, that sucks. For anybody who's not subbed, you're gonna see an ad. I only run the ads because it helps with pre-roll. Fuck, the ads are running. I think Mearzy, I think you sub. I think Nostalgia sub. So everybody who's kind of watching like that, who subbed, will still get it. I feel like an asshole if I don't wait. Hold that ad non-subs. All right, shit. So as long as you can see it, Mearzy. Fire has can never be. um. So, all right. So let's describe this narrative, right? Your character is like, yo, I'm about to body this person. I'm gonna do my move where I unsheath my blade and do a bunch of cuts. As he does that, this your opponent, right? The character's opponent just boom lets out this insane like force of energy. And now your character is looking maybe concerned or surprised, like, oh wow, I didn't know this person had this much energy. I didn't know this wasn't their final form, right? This top down, looking down at them, makes them feel a little bit smaller. Also makes them feel like they're potentially up against something larger than them, because the camera is above them, looking down on them. You know, so without emotional context, this could still be a really cool shot, but it looks like someone's looking forward, they're pulling the blade forward, that something else is coming toward them, right? Now, if we take this same kind of gesture and we switch the camera angle on it, now you're coming at them, right? The camera is on your level, or not your level, but on the character's level. I keep saying you like you're the character. It's on your character's level, and the character is moving toward it. There's more action, there's more flow in that way. The character feels more active, and because we're in the space and we're on their level, then there's more connectivity there than being above them, literally. It also showing us as the viewer like, I'm whatever's happening is above this character, right? Now we're showing it from this angle. Whatever happening, this character is meeting it head on. Now if we switch the camera angle again and the camera's going from low to top, it's giving our character more power, because now the character is above that thing. Does that make sense? I never really noticed because I do so much fucking talking. I can't really tell sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, did I talk myself in a circle? You know what I mean? But like, that's what I'm saying. Like the different camera angles, very much so. Thank you. The different camera angles give off a whole different emotional context. Do you ever wonder why you watch a scene and you're like, yo, how did this scene hit me so much? Or why do I feel so afraid for this character? It's because all the camera angles that they've shown have been above. And that character is above them, has now made them small, has now made them weak, and now you feel for them. You get a lot of those shots on flashbacks. Like you think about Naruto and everything else like that. You know, you get these shots of down shots of him being alone, people walking away from him, and then sometimes when they want emotional context, they will drop into his space, but they'll never go down and up. They'll be at his level, so you kind of see what's going on with him emotionally. But it's like top up, because as the viewer, we're old. Technically, we're like older. We're looking down on him like everybody else is. The screen is making him small. But what ends up happening is, I think, and this happens with me a lot too, early on in your journey, art journey, you draw a horizon line high because you want to like draw all the stuff on the character. And I still do it. You'll see, like when I start my puppets for some of my drawings, you'll see that you'll always see the top of the characters, like shoulder blades, like their clavicle and shit like that. That just means that, you know, my horizon line's above them. That's why I'm seeing the top parts of them. And then my second pass is the one that's lower, and it's the one where I'm experimenting with the emotional context and different shit. Hey, C-Night Art, man, the legend in the chat. Did the round table call you over here to hop in chat? But yeah, you know, I feel like, and you'll see, and I you know, just so you know, I'm not bullshitting, just so you know, I'm not talking out of my ass when I'm you know, saying this stuff. This is, I was telling you about the Oak Knight stuff that I'm trying to do. All right, here, this kid's afraid. He's walking through these huge, like kind of redwood trees, and I think I'm actually gonna make him a bit smaller. But we're kind of dropped down in this space a little bit. He's holding his sister, but like we now are small in this space, kind of with him a little bit. These trees look really big, And then when he pulls up to this great spiritual tree situation, look how small he is in comparison to the tree, but look at where we're at. Our top angle is somewhat down, you know what I'm saying? He's below the horizon line. But even though my horizon line isn't all the way up to the top of the screen, I'm still getting that same feeling of being above him and showing the camera above him because I've dropped him below the horizon line. And it also allows me for better scale. I can still make a character feel small, look down upon him under the horizon line while still giving scale to this massive eldritch tree that is speaking to him, making this sacred bond, if you will. You know, Mr. Martin's on some Shining Pearl action. Oh shit, you just dropping some stuff. Didn't realize you were on, would have stayed on for potential raid. Oh, doing some Shining Pearl action. I hope the stream went well for you. My music just stopped. Give me a second, y'all. But Mearzy, I hope that was helping. I hope that made some sense, bro. And I'm glad you did the Eyes of Darkness. You know, I always say this for everybody who pops on and does it. Like, it's not easy getting your artwork critiqued, you know what I'm saying, in front of people and stuff like that. So I appreciate it because, you know, you're not the only person who gets stuff out of it. So many people do too. Yeah, that helped a lot. I'm gonna use more grids for my next drawing. What's good? Thero, thank you for hopping in. What's Art Studio says, hey Mike, hey, what's up? Oh shit, What's Our Studio just also bought a badge. Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Bought the first badge. Don't forget to thank them. I will not. Thank you. Thanks for supporting the work. Thanks for saying you love the work. These are things that keeps me motivated. But I hope it keeps you guys motivated too. You know what I'm saying? And keeps you guys in the mode to like create, because it's about creating. You know what I mean? It's about creating. It's about growing. Man, go back and look at my art at 2017. Please go back and look at my art at 2017. And just go back and look at my art at 2020. Go and look at it. At the end of 2019. There's just practicing, just drawing every day. You know what I mean? It makes a difference. It's every small steps to take you to the places you want to really get to. And you know, that's how we do it. It's just little steps that get us inspired every day. Do just a little bit by little bit. But What's Art Studios, thank you again. I appreciate the badge. Thank you. If you want to see what I'm drawing, please hop over to Twitch. I just did an Eyes of Darkness thing where I basically show people what I do on my journey to get better, and hope that works and it helps them in any capacity. Yes, that helped a lot. I'm gonna use more grids. I read that already. Good. I think honestly, even if you're just doing a regular character design, still put a grid in. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna force you to respect the little things that are affected, you know, by a grid. Like I very often, let me go back to your drawing again and see if I can find something. So all right, here's an example. If you had a grid in this drawing and your grid was from on high up here, right? We know that everything underneath this grid is a C like this, and it's going to go back to that space, right? And it shifts. As your straight line, as it goes up, it's going to go like this, and as it goes down, it's going to go like this, right? And as it flattens out, we're getting closer to the depth. So if we look at the leg here, right, this like fold it should follow a more harder C, you know? And like, if there was no background here, because you got a ground here and stuff like that, if there was no background here, you might miss that if there's no grid. But if you put a grid in, the grid is going to force you to respect it, right? It's going to force you to make sure these go back and also probably overlap a little bit more the further they go back. And so, you know, then you get rid of your grid and you have a character that's just kind of standing there. But at least when they're standing there, I'm gonna do this with a horizon line that's above. At least when you're standing there, look at just even this character. If I was doing this as a character design or something, one of these like, oh, like would be actually. I'm forced to respect this grid here. And let's say now I got rid of the grid. Even without the grid, you know what I'm saying? It just looks nicer. You know what I mean? It just feels like the character's living in a space. Then I could do the character's name, little description, I mean, weapon stuff. Skateboard that, I don't know, a weird kind of skateboard, hoverboard kind of thing. I'm just indulging myself, but even that's respecting the grid, you know. And I feel like it adds so much more to what you're doing. So, you know, like I said, I'm gonna make a reel. I'm gonna make a TikTok that speaks to like the reasons why, if you're early on in your art journey, you should. I would say every time, until it's so ingrained in you that you're like, I don't really need it as much because you're paying attention to the concept. Rip Gap. Oh, come on. Come on, you came on here, bot, with the bullshit. Come on now. Now I gotta moderate. Oh, well. Oh, sorry. On a block. Alright, well, I don't know how to do that for me. I don't know how to like pause this comment. It is what it is. Trust the process. Yes, trust the process. AT. Thanks for hopping in with the LOL. Any of the chats that come in, really appreciate it. Just dropped in to say, hey, bro, artist support artist. All we got is us. Love and respect. Thank you, Wax Art Studio. I appreciate that. I said that earlier in the chat. Like, we're talking about art being such a solo thing, but to be honest, if we do it together, we can get a lot further. You know what I mean? For real. And I try to help out a lot where I can. East Coast Killer, what is crack-a-lackin'? Thanks for hopping over on Twitch and checking out what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I did an Eyes of Darkness thing, which is a bit of a critique. So I wish there was a community way, and maybe because I'm new to Twitch, is there a way to give Mearzy a round of applause? Is there a way to do that? Somebody tell me. Tell me now. East Coast Killer, how have you been?